You're standing in a store, holding something you actually need. Maybe it's a new pair of shoes because the ones you're wearing have been worn down for months. Maybe it's a jacket for winter. Maybe it's something even smaller, a book you've been wanting to read, a meal at a restaurant you've walked past dozens of times, a skincare product that might make your mornings feel just a little gentler. You look at the price tag, and something tightens in your chest. It's not that you can't afford it. You can. You've done the math. You know there's enough. But your hand still hesitates. Your mind starts running through reasons why you don't really need it. You tell yourself you can wait. You tell yourself there are more important things. You tell yourself it's fine. You've gone this long without it. And so you put it back. You walk out of the store carrying nothing for yourself. But later that same week, you'll spend twice that amount on someone else without blinking. A gift for a friend. Groceries for the family. Something your child pointed at and smiled about. That felt easy. That felt right. But spending on yourself? That felt heavy. Almost wrong. If you've ever felt a quiet guilt simply for wanting something for yourself, stay here for a few minutes. This video might feel like it was written about you. Before we begin, I'd be grateful if you'd hit the like button and subscribe my channel. Let's sit with this a moment longer. Because it's not just about shopping. It runs so much deeper than that. It shows up when you're exhausted, but you won't book a day off. When your body aches, but you skip the doctor because it doesn't feel serious enough. When you eat the leftovers so everyone else gets the fresh plate. When you wear the same faded clothes for years, but make sure everyone around you has what they need. And here's what makes it so invisible. People around you rarely notice. In fact, they might even admire you for it. They call you selfless. They call you generous. They call you strong. And you smile, because that's easier than explaining the truth, that you're not choosing to go without. Something inside you simply won't let you choose yourself. There's an inner monologue that plays on repeat, so quietly you barely notice it anymore. It sounds like, other people need it more. I shouldn't be wasteful. I don't really deserve something that nice. What kind of person spends money on themselves when there's still so much to take care of? You've probably never said those words out loud, but they govern almost every decision you make about yourself. You've become so fluent in self-denial that it no longer feels like denial. It just feels like who you are. And you might have even started to believe that wanting things for yourself is selfish. That comfort is earned, not given. That your needs should always come last, because that's what good people do. But I want you to pause and hear this clearly. The fact that you're thoughtful enough to worry about being selfish is, in itself, proof that you are not. So where does this come from? Why do some people move through the world pouring endlessly into others while quietly starving themselves? Not of food, necessarily, but of care, comfort, and permission. The answer almost always lives somewhere in the past. Think of your mind as a house that was built a long time ago, when you were very young and had no say in the blueprints. The rooms were arranged by the people who raised you, by what they said, what they didn't say, what they modeled, and what they rewarded. And in many of those houses, there was no room labeled, "Your needs matter too." For some of us, we grew up in homes where money was tight. Not always desperately so. Sometimes it was just tight enough that we could feel the tension. We watched a parent hesitate at the register. We heard whispered arguments about bills. We learned, without anyone ever teaching us directly, that spending was dangerous. That money leaving the household meant stress entering it. And so we made ourselves small. We stopped asking. We trained ourselves to need less because needing less meant causing less trouble. That child who learned to stop asking, they grew into an adult who doesn't know how to start. For others, it wasn't about money at all. It was about worth. Maybe you grew up in a home where love was conditional, where you were valued for what you did, not who you were. You were the responsible one, the helper, the one who took care of siblings. Your role was to give, to function, to serve. And somewhere along the way, your developing mind made a quiet, devastating conclusion. I matter because of what I provide. If I stop providing, I stop matching. This is what psychologists sometimes call a core belief, a deeply held, often unconscious assumption about yourself and your place in the world. And one of the most common core beliefs among people who refuse to spend on themselves is this: I am not worth the investment. Not in those exact words, of course. It's rarely that direct. It lives in the body more than the mind. It's the flinch when you almost click add to cart. It's the knot in your stomach when someone offers to buy you something. It's the strange discomfort of being on the receiving end of generosity because you've only ever practiced being on the giving end. There's another layer worth exploring, and it has to do with how our nervous systems learn to associate spending on ourselves with danger. If, in your early environment, self-care was treated as selfishness or personal desire was met with criticism or guilt, your brain learns something powerful. Wanting things for yourself is unsafe. And the brain, above all else, is designed to keep you safe. So it builds walls. It creates resistance. It makes you feel guilty before you even swipe the card. Not because you've done something wrong, but because your body remembers a time when putting yourself first led to disapproval, conflict, or emotional withdrawal from someone you depended on. This is not a flaw in you. This is your nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do, protecting you from a threat that no longer exists but still echoes. There's also something worth naming about identity. When you've spent years, maybe your whole life, being the one who sacrifices, that sacrifice becomes part of how you see yourself. It becomes woven into your sense of identity. And the terrifying thing about spending on yourself isn't just the money. It's the question it forces you to ask. If I'm not the one who always goes without, then who am I? Changing a habit is one thing, but changing a belief about who you are? That requires a kind of courage most people never talk about. I'm not here to tell you to go buy something, because this isn't really about spending. It's about permission. It's about whether you believe, somewhere deep in your bones, that you are allowed to receive, not just give. I want to offer you a few quiet reframes to sit with. What if your reluctance to spend on yourself isn't stinginess, but a sign of how deeply you've been caring for everyone else? What if it's not weakness, but evidence of a heart that has been working overtime for years? And what if caring for yourself isn't the opposite of caring for others, but the very thing that allows you to keep doing it without disappearing in the process? You would never look at someone you love and say, "You don't deserve that. Put it back." You would never tell your child or your best friend that their comfort doesn't matter, that they should always come last, that their needs are a burden. So why is it so easy to say that to yourself? Self-compassion isn't selfish. It is not a betrayal of the people you love. It is a quiet, radical act of including yourself in the circle of people you take care of. You don't have to change overnight. You don't have to become someone who spends freely and never looks back. But maybe, just maybe, the next time you're holding something you need, something that would bring you comfort or warmth or a small moment of joy, you could let yourself keep it. Before you go, I want to leave you with this. You have spent so much of your life making sure other people are warm, making sure other people are fed, making sure other people feel seen and cared for and held. And you've done it beautifully, quietly, without applause, without asking for anything in return. But you are not the leftovers of your own life. You are not the last plate. You are not what remains after everyone else has been served. You are someone worth spending on, not because of what you do, not because of what you give, but because you are here. And that, all by itself, is enough. The next time your hand hesitates, the next time guilt rises in your chest for simply wanting something, I hope a small, steady voice inside you whispers, "You are allowed. You have always been allowed. Thank you for being here. Take care of yourself, not after everyone else. Alongside them."